Welcome. This is your friend and your host, Karan Detani. Welcome to the Karan Detani show. Well, this show is very different than any single webinar that you have ever been to. Why? Because it is more about you and the speaker and their own personal experiences. So, our guest for today is Jim Beck and his wife, Ross Wallace. So, with pleasure and honor, let's welcome Jim and Ross. Welcome, guys.
Thanks, Karen. Happy Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving over in Canada right now. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody on the show.
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Yeah, it's a great headspace to honor, certainly. One that we should have every day, really, Karen. Compliments on your poster. I think it's great.
Thank you very much.
Nice job. So what are we going to do on this show, Karen?
All right. Well, it's going to be special. Instead of just talking about certain topics, I'll be asking you questions about your own life, about your own personal experiences. And on some level, it could be out of the topic. So it's going to be more of fun than just the speeches. So to get started, I want to tell everyone that this webinar is about innate mental health. We want to talk about mental health, not mental sickness. We can see so many people suffering from anxiety, stress, depression, bipolar, addiction, fears, phobias, and whatnot. And when they go to doctors, they take pills and they do help. They try techniques. But after doing all of those things, still they are suffering. Why are they suffering? What is the cause? This is what we study. What is the cause? But we never study what is the solution. How to have mental health, not mental sickness. So today, our guest, Jim Beck and Ross Wallace, they'll talk about innate mental health. So I would like to start by asking Jim, what is innate mental health and how do you experience it in your life?
It's been to me, mental health is being in a place of balance. You might say almost a place of neutrality. That's an elusive question to answer, really. It's being in a state of well-being. It's being happy. It's being content, being calm, being competent. There are many states of mind that qualify for being in mental health. It's a place of balance, I think, is where we want to be. And so we maintain our balance or lose our balance through our thoughts. And the negative thoughts take us off balance, and the positive thoughts tend to balance us up. And ultimately, we want to slow down our thinking. We want to be in the moment. But that state of balance, I think, is a great target. And I've been working a lot on this book, as you know, Karan, which is transcribing Dreama Odum's talk on applying the three principles of mind, consciousness, and thought to nursing. And that's what Dreama talks about in her talk, and what we've been reading over and over again as we try to format it into a book. Keep your balance. Learn to keep your balance. Learn that you're the one in charge, that it's not from the outside forces, but it's from the place that you hold yourself. That's the place of mental well-being. That's the place of mental health. When we lose our balance, we start to think that the outside forces are in charge of how we feel, the way we're treated as we see it, or thinking about the mistakes that we've made. taking ourselves into past with negative thinking, um, demeaning ourselves, those kinds of thinking. That takes us away from our balance. Our balanced place is the one where we're open, we're sharing, we're kind, we're considerate, we're confident, we're loving, and that is our natural state. That is the state that appears for us when we let these other apparently important thoughts float away. But Karan, I was going to ask you a question, and perhaps you can tell me what mental health means to you.
What is mental health for me? For me, it is our default state. We are born with mental health. As we are born with breath, we are always breathing. We are born mentally healthy. It's just that our thoughts come in the way. The thoughts of feeling guilty, feeling afraid, judged, low, feeling stressed and depressed. And beyond our thoughts, we have this mental health. Like a child, when a child is born, he's all happy. He cries, but he's not depressed. He's not stressed. So it's just our thoughts that come in our way to mental health. We always have this mental health with us. When we play with our friends, we feel mentally healthy. When we do what we love, we feel happy. But when we start thinking about what happened in the past, what we don't have in the present, or what we may or may not be able to do in the future, we get stuck in those thoughts and we keep living the reality of those thoughts. So innate mental health is something that we always have, always. Jim, I often notice that these days, some of the most common emotions that we feel is guilt, fear, stress, self-just. We think about what somebody said to us, and we think about the bad experiences that we have been through. So all of these emotions, whether it is guilt, fear, shame, self-judgment, what is the solution? How to overcome these emotions? We want to be free, right? We want to feel happy. So how can we live a life free from these negative emotions?
Well, I'd like to hear from the other people in the room, and then I will weigh in on this. But we're all in here. I had the feeling you were inviting us to a party.
Yeah, it's a party, the Karan Detani show.
Sharing, sharing talent, sharing whatever we have to offer to the party. And in Thanksgiving, perhaps we want to share. It's Thanksgiving here in Canada. I know it's not a worldwide holiday on this day. People in the U.S. have a big Thanksgiving, in the third week of November, but in Canada it's today. And so pretend you're Canadian, and think about what you're so grateful about right now in your life, the good things in life, the wonderful things that you appreciate. Your loved ones, your perhaps it's your wonderful work that you're in, your wonderful family, your friends, people you share with, gratitude, thankfulness. We're so blessed to be here right now. Happenstance, an invitation from Current, and here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 and 12 people. We're the chosen ones. We're the lucky ones. We're the ones that get to be here together with each other right now. We were blessed. Let's go there. Uh, um, Tell us something beautiful. I am so thankful for Rosalind here, my wonderful wife, my partner in life. I'm so grateful for my relationship that I've been developing over the last 8 months or so with Karan Detani. He's a wonderful guy. He's very generous, very helpful. I would say 95% of the time that I've been around Karan, he's been in a happy state, in a healthy state, in a sharing state, in a generous state, giving, working tirelessly, not not in any of those states that he described as being mental problems, but being eager, happy, outgoing, and caring. And so I'm so grateful for Karan. I'm grateful for all of you that are in the room. Some of you, I don't know the rest of you well, but I have seen a lot of you, in another room. And I always appreciate who is ever in the room. We're all contributing to the sharing in the room right now. And so, now I'll turn it over. Thanks to all you guys. You all make me feel great. And, just as Karan does. So I could go on and on. Here, one last thing. Look at that.
Hey, Lela. So
Say hi,
cute.
Leila. Oh,
Hello.
she is so cute. And she's so cantankerous at the same time. But I'm so grateful to have her sit on my chair beside me and lean against me, want to be beside me, loving me in her way. Happy Thanksgiving. Later on, I'll be going to my daughter's, and we'll be sharing with people over there, and we'll be having the traditional Thanksgiving turkey dinner, feast. Well, I'm so lucky. Who could be luckier? What do I need? I need nothing. We need nothing. So why don't Karen, you post this around the room here and let everybody weigh in on why they're so happy for Thanksgiving. What are you thankful for, folks?
Yeah, all right. Anybody who wants to tell what they are grateful for, since it is Thanksgiving? Mika?
There we go. Mute myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Hi.
Well, hi everyone. Hi. Well, I'm speaking of dogs. I'm thankful for Wolf, who is right there, and he's sweet and playful, and sometimes fierce to protect when things come around. But he's shows all those sides like we all have, all those sides of our beingness. And but most of all, he's love and playful. So I'm totally thankful for him. Thankful for my well-being, my health. That I actually woke up this morning and my heart's still beating and my blood's still pumping and my cells are still dancing around. Like, we sometimes take for granted all the work that goes on inside our bodies for us to even be here, and that. How often do we stop and thank it for doing all those things? And grateful for this room and for everyone who showed up to share, and, for Karan, who was so generous in his offerings to bring people together. So, and for the sun that's shining out here in warm Northern California.
Wonderful, Mika. Great. Well, who's next? Okay, Gil.
Are you muted?
Oh, it's okay. Gil, you can try. Just tell us what you are grateful for.
I think she has to unmute Karan. The mic's got a
Yeah,
line through.
actually, um, okay, I understand. Okay, Linda, can you speak?
Hi,
All
Karan.
right. Hello.
Hello, everyone else. And thank you for the opportunity to be here together with you, all of you. Yeah, to be thankful. That is a beautiful gift to be. And I'm thankful that you encourage us to tell about that today, because that do so much for the inner human being to do. I'm very thankful that I exist, that I'm here. I'm very thankful for my son, who lives very far away from me, so I don't see him very often, but we have a really good relationship. And I'm very thankful that he will be a dad between Christmas and the Happy New Year, and I will be a grandma. We thought that never would happen, but now it will happen, so that's a miracle for me. And I'm very thankful for that I have learned to love myself, and I have learned to be more aware of the little voice inside that guide me every day, in big cases, in small cases. And I took the Rewilding Guide training course with Ruini and Angus Ross, who is known in this 3P community. And when I started, I didn't know if I could handle to go through it, because I had so much loss in my memory and concentration, and I had to do it in English, and I'm from Norway. So that was really many challenges for me, but I had to go through it. I get a certification, my certification as a coach. And after that, I have done so many upgrading in all the rules you have to know when you go out there with a website. It was so many things I didn't know I had to do. I don't know if I had done it, if I knew all things I had to read in English, laws and regulations and everything. But I handled it too. And that was a miracle for me too. And to see all the friends that really come to me and ask me what are happening to me during this journey, and to learn the 3 principles. And what was most important for me during the 3 principles was that I learned that all my feelings is accepted, they are normal, and to have all these bad feelings we don't want to have was also healthy. That was new for me, because I had learned to strive so much to get better, to get rid of it, to fix myself. And now I don't fix myself. Sometimes I do, because it's difficult to change the thought pattern we learn, but I recognize it very fast. And when my thoughts or my feelings go in a direction that isn't so good, I'm so aware of this little voice inside, this peace, this love, the consciousness, everything I am, this foundation. And when I know I am love, I don't strive to love anyone. I don't need to strive to love myself either, because I am love. I am peace. I don't need to strive to find the peace somewhere. It's just to look inside a little minute or two. And I'm so thankful that I have been more aware of that, and coming to this community. There's so many beautiful people here, and yeah. Yeah, I think I will stop there and make space for someone else. But thank you for this opportunity.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm love. I'm peace. I'm happiness. Great. Great. All right.
Karan,
Okay. Who's
may I throw in
yes,
one other
please.
thing real
Yes,
fast?
please.
And that's that I shared this with somebody on Facebook that was having a hard time today. And that's that, you know, like the thoughts that go through, I mean, they're like clouds that are passing in the sky. But even though those clouds pass, that sun is always there. And we're the sun. We are always that shining light, no matter what passes by or passes through. So for anybody that's maybe having a hard time, that's just, for me, that's like always one of those things that I remind myself, I am that sun. And those clouds will pass. That's it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, it is true. A great metaphor. I am the sun. The light is always there. The dark comes temporarily and it passes. After night, there's morning. Beautiful. All right. Who's next? Anybody else? Gender? Vijayalata? All right. Okay, so let's continue. Jim, I would like to ask you that we all talk about happiness. We talk about the definition of this and that. But I want to ask you, in your own personal life, how often are you happy? And how do you make yourself happy?
God, I wish I could answer that. I believe I'm happy a lot. I'm much happier than I have been in earlier years. That's a way of measure. If that's a way of measuring, comparing is not really the game. But I've continued to grow in my ability to be happy, or just letting things go away, so that my true happiness is where I am. I can be frustrated at the drop of a hat. If I'm trying something, especially now, I try to do things that I did at a much better level of skill, 10 years ago or 20 years ago. And so these days, when I remind myself that, well, I haven't been in practice, and so all of my body, the brain, the physical body, and so on, they don't always do exactly what I wish they were doing or expect them to do, and that's enough for me to go, oh God, impatient with myself. But I recognize that. I deal with that really easily. I just stop doing the frustration game and let it go, and start over at some point with a little more humility. And I find things are become rewarding again, and I can do it. I just have to do it from the place that I am right now, and accept that. And if I do it from a place of patience, well, then I'm rewarded with success. So how happy am I all the time? You can.
I'd say, generally speaking, you're happy.
Generally speaking,
unless you get frustrated on something incidentally, and then you let it pass.
Yeah, absolutely, and the same is for you.
I'm better.
Very happy, and together we're so kind to each other. I really appreciate that from Roz, and I really strive for it. I strive for understanding. Realizing that we're in separate realities. She has her reality, I have my reality. There's no way we're going to make it the same. We are one, but we're two different viewpoints, and that just expands our our understanding of everything. Because sometimes, not sometimes, I mean all the time, if I would open up to what Roz's point of view is, I have a broader perspective. And it's not just her, it's anybody really, from the point of understanding, not from the point of control, but understanding, realizing that fact, something that I might be excited about and have thought about and be ready to embark on, but I haven't talked about it. And then I will broach it, and Ross not having that background, and we'll have questions. She has to come up to speed on it, or together we have to come up to speed on it, because it's becoming a combined effort. So that's ways of trying to describe the incidents in life that we share, encounter, and share. And it's a great journey. It's wonderful having a partner. I mean, if I'm talking about gratitude for Thanksgiving, there's nothing that tops the list more than you do. So how lucky can I be? I just the beautiful thing is that when we are in this place of balance, we are it's somewhat contagious. And I need to, I'll probably, as I talk today, and it shouldn't be just me talking, I'll be referring to Dreama Odom. That's been the passion for the last few months, and reading her book over and over, and the way she talks. She's a nurse, and she passed this. It wasn't a book when she did it. It was a talk that I recorded for her, and it's dedicated to nursing, but it really applies to every human. And one of the things she talks about is that this place of balance, which she discovered when she discovered the three principles. And her comment regarding the nursing profession was, if you can help one nurse, just one nurse, learn how to maintain her balance, her mental balance, her mental health balance, then you have helped all of her coworkers, you have helped all of her family, you have helped all of her patients and their relationships and families. And she puts it out as a key from nursing is to go to that place of compassion, go to that place of kindness, and go to that place of being helpful. And you will be assisting them in physical recoveries. That balance is also physical balance. The body, the natural place of us within our bodies and within our soul, within our mind, within our thinking, is a place of balance, of good health, good physical health, as well as good mental health. And when you think about whatever goes on, you break your arm, you cut yourself, you contract an infection, then you're knocking, your physical balance is challenged. And the goal of healers is to try and assist you to be in a place where you can access that balance. And in physical balance, what Dream has shared about nursing is, the basic principles of nursing. Make sure the patient has rest, because during rest, the body does its work. How about that magic? The body knows how to heal. Does anybody here going to tell somebody how to heal? We can try to follow those principles of rest, which sometimes involves medication, not an over-reliance upon it. Peace of mind, quiet. You can provide that, and more than that, you provide them with love. Compassion, kindness, understanding, the feeling of value, the feeling that they're cared about. That helps them slow their mind down. And that helps them heal physically. I don't know how the body does it. And it's the same mentally. I don't know how the mind does it if we separate mind and body. We have to let it do it. We have to accept that there's nothing we can do with our thinking to fix that, except stop it or put it in a contented place. But it's still magic. It's giving the controls over to your soul. Knowing you have it. Knowing we all have a soul. And that soul is connected to what we call mind. And that's the power of everything. That's where we heal from. That's how we look after ourselves. We open the tap and we let love in. And finding out about these things is the greatest gift we have. If we want to call the day Thanksgiving, we can call it. We can be thankful for the turkey. We can be thankful for all of these different things, and it's all fun, and there's nothing wrong with placing your gratitude somewhere. But if we're placing our gratitude, really believing it's coming from the outside, we're just we're playing a nice game with ourselves. So why not play a nice game as opposed to a negative one? But this doing nothing, this having to do nothing, strive for nothingness. Well, how do you strive for it? You just got to release it. You just got to stop trying to get it and trust that you have a soul. And then there's nothing you can do about it. You're connected. You're always connected, whether you acknowledge it or not. I say you, I mean we. Don't you love the silence?
I do. It's beautiful.
Isn't it wonderful to be together and to get, it doesn't matter who's talking. What matters is the level of consciousness in the room.
Something that came to me was that I can't really say how often I'm happy. It happens. And then sometimes I'm angry, and sometimes I'm sad, and sometimes I'm irritated. But underneath it all, what I find is I'm more and more content. And contentment is okay with me. I'm cool with that. And when I'm happy, I'm definitely happy numerous times during the day, because I have a dog that makes me laugh a lot. So there's always this momentary, like, he's doing those silly things. But I think sometimes contentment is underrated. Having that just an easy flow with what is. And it seems to me like the more that I've really worked, been involved with the principles, been aware of the principles, danced with the principles, that I more easily glide back to that space, from spaces of irritation or anger or fear or anxiety or pissed offness, whatever it is, like I can just recognize it, I'm like, okay, yeah, I notice it. And then I glide back into, it's all good.
Yeah, well, that's human nature. And you said it very well. Contentment is underrated. And I would feel guilty about being angry, being frustrated. I was like, I had this understanding of the principles. I am a coach. I should not feel that, but it doesn't work that way. We all are one. We all are the same. We all are human beings. We all feel all kinds of emotions. Beautifully said, Mika. Chin and Ross, thank you. I would like to ask both of you, like in my life, I often find myself comparing, competing with people, things, situations, and also feeling low. Also, I find myself arguing with people. Does it happen with you also? Do you also feel those emotions, including jealousy? And if you do, how do you overcome them?
I can't remember when I've been jealous the last time, but I'm a human, so I know it's possible. Um, it would be something that I would drop, Karan, as soon as I recognize it, and it's very recognizable. In my early, before I met Sid, and since I've met Sid, but not for many years. I haven't been jealous. And certainly I've never been jealous about Rosalind, whether it would be attention from somebody else or whether it would be something that she's doing that I feel not included in, perhaps. I'm just happy for her. The only thing I can think of in that regard might be, say, weaving. And another thing that, I just, from the time I met Roz, when there were things that I was not adept at or had no real interest in, I had a higher interest, and that was getting closer to her. So she led the way in certain activities. One of them would have been this scooter riding, motorbike riding, which we sold our scooters this summer, but which we did for 4 or 5 years, and it was something that was never on my bucket list or what I would want to do. But rather than, it was important to her. She had in her youth, she had was a very avid motorcycle person, What was your gull wing or something?
Like a Goldwing, but it was one down. It was 1100.
An 1100cc Honda. It's a massive bike, really, in terms of power. And unfortunately, after a few years of riding, she had an accident, and so she wasn't able to, ride again, so to speak. Or that was what it seemed her life was going to be. And then after she met me, she turned around one day and said, "Well, supposing, why don't we get scooters? I mean, would you want to get a scooter and get your license? Because what we were getting was not a moped that you don't need a license for. It would have been, mine was a 300cc. So, my first reaction inside me was, no, I'm not going to do it. That's not my game. But it was important to her, so I dropped that. And as a result, I did go through some difficulty and frustration in learning to ride, and she was supportive, and I made it through that. And but the important thing was that we were doing it together. That was my motivation, not to impress her, but to share it. Another one is opera. Give me a break. Opera. I had seen one opera in my life before I met Roz, and of course it would appear on TV and I would change channels. But she was going to the Met on Saturdays in the theater, that kind of deal. And all right, and she was actually, playing the cello, and had been in a community orchestra playing the flute, and was apparently very good at it. But it had turned to the cello. And, I even went to one of the sort of a cello party. There's about 8 or 9 cellos in the room, and they're all having a class, and I'm sitting there, and so I embraced opera. I embraced classical music. It's still not something that oh, great. When COVID started, we took a subscription to the Met. We still get it. And we must have watched 50 operas in a row. Every night we were watching opera. Another one. I didn't want these tragedies because they're a bit of a bummer. But so we started out with comedies. And then graduated into the tragedies, and through time I got to I was impressed. I got to respect, these guys are like athletes, men and women that are these top flight opera singers. Good God, what they can do with their voices. No wonder a lot of us prefer rock and roll or something, because you can sing along. You can't sing along to these guys, good Lord. Anyway, once again, just saying, it wasn't an area for conflict or jealousy, or you go to your thing and I'll go to mine. We are inseparable. And not totally, certainly, if there's something that she needs to do, that's fine, go do it. She does the weaving, and sometimes has to go and do that. I don't think I'll ever pick up weaving. Roz encouraged me to do, woodwork and that, and I did. Mostly I was chores, but I do enjoy it, but it's not really a passion. I've gotten, hobby work, craft work. But certainly classical music, whatever we do, we're starting to learn golf now. I mean, we're dilettantes at whatever we try. But at least we stay in it long enough to buy some clubs, or we stay in it long enough to buy some paint and pull out an easel. It's just something to share together, even if it's to a relatively unskilled level. That's not the point. The point is that we're spending our time together, and that we're supporting each other, not competing when we do it. So that's, you asked me about jealousy. In the old days, that was a very strong emotion for me, but now it is not. And I have no interest in it. It's only something that we create with our mind. It's us creating a negative emotion almost deliberately. And it's just that is, I'm speaking earlier, your mental well-being. Jealousy is definitely not included in your mental well-being. It's an interference. Once you realize that, and you stop providing yourself with information to support your suspicions, and going around with that inside your head, and you're probably wrong. Well, you're dead certain you're wrong, because your real reason in doing it is to control somebody else and to create these negative feelings within yourself, your own insecurity, your own valid reason to be pissed off. It's not. In fact, there never really is. But we're always going to get caught in it occasionally. The beauty is that for all of us in the room, we know that we're responsible, and that we've just lost our balance at that point, and have gone to the irresponsible side, the negative side, and we don't want to be there. And another this thing from Dreama, allow yourself to be interrupted. How's that? Just allow yourself to be interrupted. If you're going around in a funk, allow yourself to be interrupted. Allow somebody to come. Allow a little kid to come up. Allow your grandson, your child, an innocent one, or anybody, and distract you. Go with the distraction. Don't obsess on the on the harm. Don't build your harm. Go for the distraction. Allow yourself to be distracted. You don't need somebody else to come and distract you, by the way. Distractions available everywhere. Just go with that. Go with the beauty that happens to pass by. Jump on that train. Before you know it, you will have lost all of that negatives, and you will be free to slow down your thinking. Go for the energy. This is what, top athletes are doing, only they're obsessed. But go for the energy. Get in the moment. Ride that scooter. It's a thrill to be going 80 kilometers an hour on a scooter when you're confident, when you feel, do it on your bike. Get that thrill. There's a thrill in riding bike. In a sense, be a thrill seeker, but don't put it all on the thrill. Put it on the enjoyment of the moment, the zone. They say getting into the zone. When the basketball starts throwing these 3-pointers and knocking in 30 in a game or something, my goodness. And then they talk to them afterwards and they say, that little basket, it turns into a big thing like this when you're in the zone. You can't miss it. It's so easy to do. Or the tennis stars. Harry loves to talk about this one guy, Rafael. Rafe, I don't know. Pretty well the top guy. He may be in pain. He's in the final game. It's a competition. I grant you, I'm not big on competition, but he gets in the zone, and he's right there living life on the edge with everything that he's trained for happening. And if you watch a game like that and you watch these guys, I'm sure all of the top athletes do that. I'm not saying we need to do that. I'm just saying in getting in the now, you can get into the zone, that zone of reality, that zone of I'm here, I'm right here. I'm in the park, it's electric. I'm sitting down looking over the ocean and everything starts to come alive. And it's not just a, I'm going to fall asleep out here. It's a vibrancy. We're allowed vibrancy. That's what I mean when I say, this is what Sid Banks taught me. Get into the energy. He loved to be in the energy. He loved beauty. He loved sharing his presence in the moment of a beautiful moment. Christmas. He loved to get into the energy of Christmas. He, at one point after we had shared Christmas with him, more than once really, but it was like, that feeling of Christmas, you can have it every day. It's like, you go into the store and you're going to be buying some presents for people, and it's not out in the forest, it's in the city, in the store, and you've got young kids. He would look for people to buy things for. God, it's Christmas. Look at this. The lights are here. The shopping center's got a choir singing, there's Christmas trees and Christmas decorations. It seems like it's the outside, but this is the feeling. You grab that feeling, you get into it, you enjoy it, you love it. You go to a movie, you can just, the whole movie theater can be laughing at a comedy and sharing it together, and they're in the moment, they're in that zone, they're in that energy. It's just a physical form of love that is in a different disguise. And you can be quiet in that energy. You can be crystal clear. Otherwise, we get thinking that we just have to be kind of dozy. Just like, I'm not knocking being quiet, but sharing things together, if you're in a relationship, is share quiet together, but you can share going to the opera together. It's electric. Go to a play. God, imagine these actors memorizing all of that dialogue and then taking on a character. And it's electric. I spent the first part of my adult life in theater. And, I haven't been near it for decades, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I loved the energy, whether I was in the play or whether I was behind the scenes in the play. It was showtime. And the audience was out there babbling away, all excited, and the curtain's going to go up, the music starts, everything goes quiet, and the curtain goes up, and right there, sometimes there's no actors, and the audience start to applaud the set. I mean, they're just having fun together. And then the actors show up, and whatever they present, they're presenting their best. And you get that feel for those actors. Or if you're an actor, having everybody in the house watching every breath you take and responding, and you can hear them responding. You say a funny line and they laugh, and it's just like, whoa, and you, it's quite similar actually for what happens for me when I start talking. You plunge into nowhere, you plunge into the nothingness, and you don't know what the heck is going to come out. But you got to trust it. And that's was what it would be like for me as a performer. I would go to the theater a half an hour before anybody else. This was my ritual. And I would go down into the dressing room area or the backstage area, and I would pace. And I loved it. I loved getting ready. I loved psyching myself up. I just loved it. And then, showtime. Keeping on that and talking about my stories. when I was 20, I was in university. I was in a Bachelor of Fine Arts program at the University of Alberta. So I was in a pretty good league right there. And I saw a poster, in one of the offices or something, and it was for an acting class that was being offered in New York City at a premier acting school called the Neighborhood Playhouse. Look them up. There's a lot of stars went there. And the teacher that I had actually invented I say invented, he had his own, later on after I spent this short time with him, he had his own system. The guy's name was Sanford Meisner, and you can check him out. The Meisner system of acting. He's got videos and all this stuff. I knew him. I went there. 6 weeks at Neighborhood Playhouse. Sandy Meisner and his protege, Edlin Moore, was the other teacher, and a beautiful elderly lady that was part of Martha Graham's dance group was the sort of physical work. We went into a room with a ballet bar and mirrors and a piano player, like that, and did that to work out. Oh my God. My parents dropped me off on the highway outside of Edmonton with a suitcase. And I hitchhiked, not all the way to New York. I made it to, I think it's the Peace Bridge or something, Port Erie, and I got turned away at the border. And I hitchhiked back to Niagara Falls, and I cleaned up because I had been on the road for a couple of days, and shaved and put on clean clothes, and I bought a return bus ticket from Niagara Falls to New York. So that's how I finished that journey. And there I was in that city, knowing nobody. The whole thing was energy. I was flying from the day I stuck out my thumb. And in the trip home, I had $5 in my pocket. And when I got home, and that ticket to Buffalo, when we hit the Canadian border, I didn't go to Niagara Falls. I got out right after the border, and I started hitchhiking again. And when I got home, I made a phone call. It was Friday midnight where I was, and I got my parents awake, and I said, I'll be home Monday morning about 11. And I was pissed off when I got home because they weren't there, and I arrived at 11 o'clock. And I had to go through a window to get in the house. I called my sister. I said, where is everybody? What's going on? And I still had $3 left. It was solid adventure. Imagine if we got to these young folks and we said, well, you just got to be quiet. And you're faced with another 60 years of, where's the adventures? You got to get out and have adventures. You got to live life. Life's a contact sport. But that's not to say that you're not in the zone, that you're not in the now, that you're not in that state of meditation. It doesn't mean that that's not having a quiet mind. It doesn't mean that you have to do nothing. A quiet mind is that mind of clarity, that tranquil mind, that confident mind, that open mind, that sharing mind, that kind mind, that loving mind, loving life. Looks like I've emptied the room, Karan.
Wonderful sharing, Jim. I loved it. I guess we've got two actors here, Jim and Mika.
Yeah,
Are you
I
an
also,
actress?
I'm not acting now, but I did, and in New York, and I
Yeah.
studied Meisner, not with Sandy, but I did study Meisner with James Price and Anna Maria Cianciulli. And then I studied method work as well with
Sure.
amazing coach Susan Batson, who's both in New York and LA. But yeah, it is an amazing way of opening up oneself, like peeling back layers, because as an actor, you really can't have all this armor on. You really do have to expose yourself,
You're naked.
and
You're naked. Yeah, you're naked out there,
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was a real cathartic when I first started studying, and I decided to do it because I'm also a painter. So, early in life, I did acting and painting when I was a kid. And then I kind of went towards painting. I started off in college in acting, and then I went to painting. And then in my 40s, I decided I wanted to do something interactive again with other people, creatively, collaborative. And that's when I started going into acting again. So, so it's a wonderful journey. And it was really an amazing experience that the more and more it was, like I said, it was cathartic. It like peeled back a lot of armor, a lot of layers, and a lot of my spirit. Like it was like being this vessel where it's just moving through that creative energy, just moving through. And from that, I know for myself that opened a gateway to a major kind of spiritual, mystical experiences that came after. But that opened me up enough to release so much stuff that was blocking the flow. So I share all that just to say, like, there are so many ways in which we can peel that stuff back, release the shackles, of all these things that we attach to ourselves that are not us.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was great to hear your experience, though,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing about theater, it was the first thing that I was involved with that required a very high degree of excellence. It had to be good. Yeah. You can't go out there in front of a crowd bad. You can't have crappy stuff. It's got to be of the highest level. And then there's the connection between the actors who rely on each other, share the stage with each other, and so you get some very very intense relationships really between cast members, because
Absolutely.
that trust that's there. Anyway, that was fun telling that story.
Yeah, and that made me think of one other thing too. That just one other story that I'll share from an acting perspective is that there was a point where, like, every time, like I was going for auditions, right? Like I'd, get myself all worked up so that I could access all those things inside ourselves, and but there's this so much pressure of like, oh, I really want this role. I really need this role. This is my, and
yeah.
I realized one day that it was making me miserable. Like,
sure.
And if I was going in there feeling all that tension and feeling all that stress, then they were certainly feeling it too, the casting directors. And so at one point I was able to say, I'm just going to go have fun. It's not about the end result. It's about the process. And if I'm feeling good going in there, then they're going to feel that. They're going to feel more relaxed too. And the connection will be better. And whatever happens will happen. And from that point forward, I actually did get cast in more things. And I had more fun with the process. So I relate that to even in life, like when we can just relax and be, and if it's meant to be, it'll be, and just have fun doing what you're doing in the moment.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Prior to meeting Sid, that was mostly my world. We had run away from that when we met Sid, but my life in theater was one of highs and lows, because you're in a play, then you're on your high. You got something to focus on, and generally, in my situation, it would last about 6-7 weeks or something. But maybe three and a half, four. Half of it would be rehearsing, and then the other half would be performing. And then, if you didn't have another gig lined up, you crash.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're insecure. A minute, a week ago, you were a star, more or less. And then riding it, and then you have the strike party, and all of a sudden the next day is, if you don't have something right away, and you're on the audition trail, it's the insecure person walking around, sorry for themselves, low. Nobody wants me, nobody likes me, that. So it's up and down, up and down. I loved having a goal. I loved having an opening night ahead of me. I loved having the run. But then it's an up and down world that way. At least it was for me.
Yeah, and I reached that point. It was like, and I had not come across Sid at this point or anything like that, but and interesting enough, living in New York City, and this happened, I reached this point right before 9/11. I reached this point inside myself where I was like, I'm tired of being an emotional Gumby doll. Like, I just wanted to feel what I felt. I didn't want to have to churn things up and go in and out of them that way. I just wanted to be me. I reached that point, and I wanted to go back inward and create more privately again, hence going back to painting. And then 2 weeks later, 9/11 happened. And that even more like cemented that just wanting to kind of be inward and be, but a couple of weeks after 9/11, I actually got a call to go in and audition for something. The Sidney Lumet project. And so, and I don't know if you know who he is, but he did Dog Day Afternoon and Network and all these huge, he's huge. And
I missed it. I missed the name. You kind of broke up at that moment.
Oh, Sidney Lumet.
Okay, no, I have not heard of him. That doesn't mean anything. I've been totally.
He was a big filmmaker who did Dog Day Afternoon with Al Pacino and Network. And anyway, he was really well recognized, and he was doing a TV show. So, and I went in there and I actually got to read with him. He at the Oscars, he won one of their annual honor awards that year, that type of, So that was so I left out on a real high, and that was the last thing I did. I got cast in it. He gave me it was a small role in a TV thing, but that was actually the last thing I did. And then I left and went back privately. But it was the emotional Gumby doll, just wanting to be where I was and not churn stuff up is really what, but I still have a love for the process.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll be quiet now.
Well, that's nice talking to you about theater.
You too. Yeah, it got me excited. Like, oh yeah.
Jim, what's your favorite song? And can you sing that here?
No. Sorry. All right. It's a Wonderful Life is one of my favorite songs. A Wonderful World, rather. I haven't played it, or
I see skies of blue, etc.
Red roses too.
I watch them bloom for you and for me and you. Yeah. And I think
can you both sing it?
No, we can't.
You wouldn't want to hear it.
She can sing. She can partially sing. I can't. we have we sing this song to ourselves, between ourselves, but
Mhm.
comfortable knowing that we're going to screw up, and she generally tells me I was low or high or whatever on, especially on the ending.
It's
But
okay.
there's lots of songs I wouldn't mind, I could get into, but I can't think of anything right now.
No.
What
I mean,
else is
It doesn't have to be perfect. You can just sing it.
I was going to say there's a group on Saturdays that I meet with called Songshare. And I found it through Jasmine, who's, one of the coaches, 3P coaches. And we meet, Gary Stein, Nina Lockwood's in it. And we meet and we have to pick a song. We have themes and we have to pick it. It's not about singing well. It's just about having a good time. And we pick it. There's themes, and then you pick song out of the theme. And every Saturday we meet, and you have to sing it a cappella, no accompaniment. So if you ever feel like singing on a Saturday,
what have you got? Throw one out.
Well, the last week we did one of the categories was Beatles, so I went for that one. And I did too. I actually sang "While My Guitar Gently Weeps" and "In My Life." Those two songs.
Well, give us a song.
Oh God, are you serious?
Yes, Mega, please.
I don't know the words to those songs, but certainly it would be nice to hear you sing.
Okay. Let me see. Oh my gosh. I actually have the words up here somewhere. Okay. There are places I remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, not for better. Some have gone and some remain. All these places have their moments with lovers and friends I still can recall. Some are dead and some are living. In my life, I've loved them all. But of all these friends and lovers, there is no one compares with you, and these memories lose their meaning when I think of love as something new. Though I know I'll never lose affection for people and things that went before, I know I'll often stop and think about them. In my life, I love you more. In my life, I love you more. That's it.
That's so beautiful.
Very nice. Thanks.
Well done.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
I just
Beautiful.
feel love.
Beautiful. So beautiful, Mega. Very beautiful.
Yeah, very beautiful.
All right. So before we finish, I want to ask Jim. Jim, what's your favorite poem, and can you recite one here?
I have a favorite poem. I don't know the words to it, Karan. I can give you a part of it. I've been looking for it for years. I look up I think I know the poet, but I'm not sure. But I've been putting that in. I know the book it's in. It's an old school textbook, so it's a poem that goes back many, many years. It's an old time. It's called An Old Time Dance at Carson's, and I can't tell you the whole poem, but I can start it out. A black fly on a white wall. The Camp McKinney stage winds its way along the mountain trail. The driver, beneath it, its windows shooting fire. Ma Carson's cabin gives it the high sign. The driver pulls up short. It looks like there's a dance on over to Carson's. What do you say, boys? Say, tune in on an old time dance. Somebody moving in twos and fours or something. It's a shedding of wraps and a how to do, and Ma Carson smiling on the whole blame crew. Come on in, boys, set a spell. And then it carries on. And it ends up like this. Just home folks. I missed a whole stanza there. Just home folks. Canadian pioneers. If they ever got a complex, they got rid of it. That's the gist of it. I'd love to find it and read it again. Under other circumstances, I remember a few more lines, but I don't have the whole poem down. But I love the feeling, the line about if they had a complex, they got rid of it. That's a good line. They didn't need a psychiatrist, is how it begins. They didn't need a psychiatrist. If they had a complex, they got rid of it. Now, we can delve into it and say, yeah, in those days they could have used a psychiatrist a few times, but it's just a feeling of it, and in fact, I'm sure in many cases they did just get rid of it. But I'm not saying that was everywhere. That's what the poet said, So I use his words. But yeah, an old time dance at Carson's. If anybody ever gets a hold of it, I'd love a copy. I can't even remember the name of the text, really. Anyway, I've tried to get the text. I bought one text. It's a text it comes in 3 series, and it was used in Alberta in the 50s and 60s. And when was like grade 9, 10, and 11, put it like that. They had a different book for each grade, and they were nice and thick, and they had lots. It was a literature book in those days. You learned literature in Canada. Language and literature were separate classes, and so that comes out of my childhood. There you go.
Beautiful.
Half a poem.
Beautiful. I must tell everybody that Jim is a poet himself. He has written a sonnet, a cool book. Could you just recite something from that book which you wrote?
Sure, I can. I just happen to have it right here, Karan.
Mm-hmm.
Waiting for you.
Can you show us the cover? Wow,
There
beautiful.
It is. Picture of on Salt Spring Island, actually. Here's one. Short and sweet. This is a sunset from Vesuvius Beach here on the west side of Salt Spring Island, looking at Vancouver Island across the bay. And we used to go down there. Here there's a spiritual mood that we can access when we watch a sunset. Whole beaches go quiet as one. It's a grounding experience for all witnesses. My muse will prod me without fail at the viewing of another sunset. Sharing a Vesuvius Beach evening inspired the following verses. This is called An Autumn Evening at Vesuvius Beach. Across the bay, the island mountains flow along the shore like giant breakers frozen in lava. Solid motion. Suspended time. Rising in layers through a hazy autumn eve. The ferry glides slowly, glistening with shine, humming her way to her berth. Tranquility permeates the scape, completing one of those rare moments when birds call and waves gently fall, and we are aware at Vesuvius Beach. Thanks.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, guys, that's all for today. Before we go, I want to go up for audience participation. Does anybody have any question to ask Jim? It could be about the principles, mental health, even about something personal. Not
Or
so
you could
personal,
ask
but
a question of you could ask a question of Karan as well, if you so
yeah,
desire.
for sure. Does anybody have any question to ask Jim? It doesn't have to be about mental health. It could be about anything, what Jim likes, what he does for fun, anything, what makes him happy, any of his experiences.
Yeah.
All right. So, okay. So, since no one is asking, I would like to ask. Mm, okay, Jim, uh, how do you make the most out of your day? I mean, how do you have the best day?
I don't know. It's moment to moment, Karen.
Mhm.
It would be the same, for everyone. Certainly I don't wake up saying I got to make the best out of this day. Let's make a great day here. I just wake up and follow my routine. Um, I don't know that I'm making the most out of it. I wish I could say I made the most out of every day, um, but that's sort of it's a great thought to have tucked away inside, to guide you. It may not verbalize, but it's sort of like when you want to when we face the fact that we've got wisdom that we've I would say my way of putting it is we found out about the three principles and we realized that our moods, which I associate with a great day, are not generated from the outside, but they're generated through our proper use of thought or our abuse of thought. And so this is one of the most common questions that I've seen in 3P is, well, I was high, I was floating along. It lasted 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 days, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden it was like I'd forgotten everything. I crashed. There I was, upset, angry, frustrated, and nothing was working right. And then I realized it was my negative thinking. And then the question is, how do I get rid of that negative thinking? That there's that one. And really, the answer is you've done all you can already by recognizing it, and after that, it's just going to be more failure thinking, because you can't think your way out of it. You can only drop thinking. So in a way, we when we first follow it through on that train, that negative thoughts create negative feelings, positive thoughts create positive feelings, and then you find yourself in negative thoughts. Well, we're really too late. We're already in that thought. We're really too late. Allow yourself to be interrupted. Change thought. Get ahead of the game. Get in the now. By being in the now, you just focus on the wonders that are evident for you. You let yourself go there. You can't make it happen, but by knowing about it and by changing thought, if you can do it, thinking of something happy. That song from South Pacific, happy thoughts keep talking, happy thoughts talk about things you like to do. You got to have a dream. If you ain't got a dream, then how are you going to make a dream come true? Go to hope, not despair, not judgment, not self-judgment, self-love, not egotistical love, but self-love in terms of understanding self, forgiving self. Forgive yourself. You're not bad. You're not inferior. Just because you happen to fall into a negative thought pattern, you're just human. And there's nobody that isn't a human. That means there's nobody that doesn't do it. Yeah, not already.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I could go on for another half an hour, but we'll have to leave it.
All
I
right.
think we could leave it there. When it's gone already in a sense, the moment, but there was the moment getting ready to happen of quiet again. And the show's over anyway. So
Beautiful.
turn it off. When we turn it off, go to that quiet for yourself. Hang loose. As the cab driver says to Richard when he arrives in Maui in Second Chance and he picks him up. Hang loose. You're in Hawaii now. Hang loose. Aloha. Okay, guys.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for showing up with your beautiful presence. I want to thank you all for everything and happy Thanksgiving. See you soon. Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha.